Hi guys, welcome to this upload for you guys today. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. Bear with me while I turn down my TV, my lovely room, my abode. I'm on location at the moment. I'm in Liverpool, which is for my mate Stag Do and Hen Do tomorrow. That's why I'm on location, and it's been a nightmare to get to because of obviously all the train palavers and cancellations. I've had to go one route compared to another route that I'm used to, and it took a lot out of me. My anxiety went through the roof. And I tell you one thing, it's really frustrating when it actually happens. I'm hoping on Monday, when I get my train back, I'm hoping it's a lot better than it has been. But I can't stress about it. End of the day, I'm here in Liverpool. Now, I want to say to one of you guys is that even though I don't watch WWE anymore, occasionally I will talk about them. Okay, a few times here on Wrestling Fan Open Mic Night. So you've come back for more honesty. Now, with me giving you honesty towards professional wrestling, I find this an interesting move for the WWE moving forward. When they've actually apparently today re-signed Saraya, that was known in AEW. Now she's re-signed back to the WWE. I find this very, very interesting, considering she's been away from the WWE for numerous of years, and they released her because they weren't interested in her. Didn't have nothing for her due to her injury. They got rid of her as the SmackDown general manager, but she's a seasoned veteran. Now I'm hoping it's a Legends contract. I've not looked into this. I'm hoping it's just a Legends contract because she's got a lot of personal dates to fulfill that she's been booked for throughout the rest of the year. It proves how popular she is. When I went to Full of Wrestling 6, her queue was long. I mean, it was one of the longest ones there. Her and Kurt Angle, believe it or not, were the longest queues in the building, considering some of the names that have been on that bill that I've actually met and other people met. But all I can say is this, right? All I can say is all the best, Paige or Saraya, whatever you want to class yourself under, going back to the WWE. Now, here's where it lies for me as a wrestling fan. Not because I'm saying, oh, I hate Saraya because she's gone back to WWE. How could she? No, because at the end of the day, she made herself a household name. She got noticed by WWE. She had a movie made based on her by Dwayne Johnson and his production team. So there's a lot of possibility for what Paige or Saraya, whatever you want to class her as, going back to the WWE. But the problem where it is, at the moment, I feel like it should be a Legends contract to honour those days, let alone to, how to put it, elevate the next women coming through. Now, I was speaking to my mate David Anderson, who runs a Facebook page that I share my stuff on. I do apologise, I forgot the name of it. Turning Heel, that's the one. Turning Heel. He's a diehard wrestling fan. He does a lot of stuff and he loves my content now and again. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't agree. But I was talking to him just shortly before this, as well as obviously my friend Luke, that sent me the screenshot of her signing back to the WWE. Now, technically, right, I can actually say this. When she went to AEW, it wasn't that much of a great run, even though, yes, she had the Women's World Championship. Now, she was a badass, don't get me wrong, and she elevated a lot of women in that division that needed elevating at the time, pushing forward. Now, the thing is, when I look at the bigger spectrum of it, with TKO making this decision to bring her back, I'm very skeptical of it. Because at the moment, all we see is these people that are coming back are overshadowing what the future generation is all about. The likes of NXT, the likes of some on SmackDown, some on Raw, Even Evolve. Now, Evolve obviously is the stepping stone before getting to NXT. And then when you get to NXT, then you work your way up. You know, that's another stepping stone to get yourself to the main roster. Now you look at the way the women's roster at the moment, it doesn't have that much depth because you're not focusing on that much of the women's division. You're only focusing on the likes of AJ Lee coming back. You focus on the likes of Becky Lynch coming back. You haven't focused on progressing Jay Cargill. No disrespect to Jay Cargill, but when I watch the likes of Jay Cargill, it just reminds me of what she was doing in AEW. You know, this is what I mean by there needs more elevation and evolve going forward. No pun intended. Because the evolution of the women's division needs that evolution spark once again, and it doesn't feel that way. You bring back the Bella twins, that does not elevate the women's division at all towards the tag team division. But with Soraya or Paige, she could elevate a lot of women in that division. She could literally push them, train them. If she comes back as a trainer, that'd be a massive feat to actually defeat because she's really, really popular. Because, in quotations, what AJ Lee's been saying since she's been back, and I feel like, even though by the clips I've actually seen this catchphrase being used, I feel like when she's saying was it your favorite wrestler's wrestler is being used quite too often, and I feel like that was the reason focus of her coming back because I feel like even though AJ Lee was quite popular when she came back, but she hasn't done that much. Even though you are building towards the women's IC title match at WrestleMania, yes, I've been watching clips just to keep in touch, and I feel like you haven't done that much with the women that needs that elevation, that extra push, that extra training that's been around a while and done it all. It's similar to when I watched, believe it or not, I actually watched the Peacock documentary about Shawn Michaels becoming, the Heartbreak Kid becoming Shawn Michaels. And that's what pushed my mind to think, okay, this could be the female version of Shawn Michaels to elevate that next woman, to train them to, obviously, because she's been there, done it, similar to what Shawn Michaels has. She's had her own addictions. Shawn Michaels has had her addictions. You know, she's been a champion. He's been a champion. You know, if you were just bringing her back to, how to put it, not work with the young guns, which I've been stressing that WWE has lost a wave with certain wrestlers. And I feel like when you look at it, Roxanne Perez, you don't see Elo Sky, you don't see the likes of Bailey, you don't see, the next crop that are coming through. I know Bailey's been around a while, give me a break on that one. But if you know what I mean, you do have the stereotypical names that have been there a while, and they've actually stolen, I feel like they've stolen the spotlight from these wrestlers that need that push now towards the women's IC title, or to the women's world title, to the women's WWE title, to the women's US title, and you don't give that elevation. Look what you've been doing with Chelsea Green. I know I'm not a fan of her, but I respect her ethic to do the next big thing, to elevate her, and you not actually put her on there. Tiffany Stratton, you pushed her to the stratosphere last year to put her onto WrestleMania last year. Now she's nowhere to be seen. This is the problem where it lies when the women's division is bad in that has carried that company. And I'll be honest with you, they have carried it for the past couple of years now. And I'm not saying it's sad to admit, but bringing Paige back, yes, that's an asset because she's very popular with a lot of people, more than you realise. And when I look at the bigger picture of it, and I'll be honest with you, I am looking at the bigger picture of this, and I feel like when I look at this, and I'm thinking, okay, she's coming back. What can she add to the women's division that's already come back? Because is she going to be facing AJ Lee after Mania, Monday Night Raw after Mania, the same way she beat AJ Lee many years ago? That's the wrong way about it. I feel like she should be technically elevating these next crop that are coming through. And it's it's just mad to think how many people are actually coming back to the company, and it's made it really stale. Which I've got a video coming out on Monday, which I'll be recording before I leave here on Monday. We'll be uploading it Monday evening UK time, where AW has balls that other companies don't. And that's just me being honest as a wrestling fan. Because they do take balls and they run with those balls. But then when you look at when I say look at WWE, there should be the people that have the balls to run with it because they're the biggest company in the world. They've been around for decades and they don't even take that risk. So they always blame the shareholders or something like that. How could they be shareholders when the TKO? That you've got like two of the former wrestlers that used to take balls, take runs with it. Yes, they had to there, but they don't run with it. How could you get this all wrong going forward? You got to think logically. What is good for business? Don't get me wrong. Good business strategy, but in the long run, what will she offer that any other wrestler could fucking offer? You took away break away from the divas, but you're bringing the two of the biggest divas back. I'm on about Brie and Nikki. Becky was never out of contract anyway. AJ Lee, she was breaking away from the divas division. I'm just intrigued to see what actually happens. You got Charlotte and Alexa. Yeah, surprisingly they do work well as a tag team. Although is that the best thing you could actually do? Because end of the day, you look at the bigger spectrum of it. I want to be honest with you. I would say this, right? I know this sounds a bit off character, off topic, but when people used to criticize the likes of Alexa Bliss being the women's champion because of her height and her weight, they're doing the same thing what Darby Allin is. People were doing against Darby Allin winning the world championship for AEW. But that's besides the point. I'm just wondering what you're actually going to do with her. I'm on about Paige. I really am. It's not that I don't want to see her back in the ring, but I just don't want to go in for the same pattern that we've already seen before she left, before she got her injury. It's just mental just to think that she wants to come. She's been offered a contract back, even though it's been teased for months. That's just me being honest. Tell me your thoughts. And no way was she going to come back to it in the Rumble because you got to think she got out of abusive relationship. But when you look at Saudi Arabia, how they treat their women, you put two and two together. But this is just my thoughts. Tell me your thoughts. I'm really intrigued to see what they actually do with her. But is this a desperate move to get people back into the good books of wrestling fans that are actually... But the problem where it lies, I'm not saying this in a bad light, does this make tickets go up even more? It's mental. Just to think Saraya, Paige is back in the WWE. But that's just my thoughts and opinion. Tell me yours.